Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some breaking news out of Mason, Ohio, where Kings Island has just started a teaser campaign. Jeff, what is a teaser? We haven't seen these in a very, very long time here. But they are teasing. We do know first that they're closing Boo Blasters. We in Planet Snoopy. We've heard that a while ago. But now they have a teaser video of a security guard walking through Boo Blasters. Jeff, can you walk us through what's going on in this video, maybe?
Yeah, so on August 11th, they announced that Boo Blasters would be closing after Labor Day weekend. But today we learned out that they're going to have some sort of announcement on August 28th. So in the video, it starts out with some spooky music playing. If you're a music nerd, it's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. If you're not, it's just think of a haunted house. It's that song, and a security guard with like high vis is walking around. He seems to be looking for something. He's got a radio. He inspects this pipe organ with sheet music, and then the music kind of changes to chimes, and he seems like he's lost and cut off, and he then appears in the crypt, and it
Yes, he
says
does.
to be continued.
To be continued. So we don't really know what's going on there. So a few clues here, obviously, that we know Boo Blasters is closing. Him ending up in the crypt is probably wherever this new attraction is going to go. That the crypt is kind of sat there without a ride for a very long time. They do use it during Haunt for a haunted house, Madame Fatale's Cavern of Terror. I believe I went in it once, or maybe twice, because it's been open for quite some time, since 2012. So the last 12 years they've been using this for Haunt. It is shockingly, or maybe not shockingly at all, absent from this year's Haunt lineup. Madame Fatale is nowhere to be found on the Kings Island Haunt website, which tracks because they're probably going to announce what's going in there, so that people don't expect to be lining up for a Haunt there. Previous rides that we always call it the Crypt building, but that's because the Crypt was the most recent ride, the Tomb Raider top spin, right? Top spin. We're gonna talk a lot of flat rides today, so hopefully we get all our flat rides names right here. So it was. I think I went on it once, right before it closed, maybe the year before it closed, and I love top spins in general. And it being inside and in the dark and all this theming all around you. By the time I wrote it, they kind of neutered the ride cycle already, so it wasn't like super intense, not nearly as intense as the crypt at King's Dominion was. The King's Dominion crypt, much more intense. This one a little bit neutered by the end there because they were having maintenance issues with it, in my opinion. Maybe other people feel differently. But I thought the whole ambiance was really cool, walking into the theming. And then they did the haunt. They tried to reuse it, and you saw in the video there at the end the security guards basically in this that opening portal, that rounded portal that you would walk through to get into there. So what do we think here? I like we looked at it, we did some measurements, and the building itself not big enough for a coaster, right?
Yeah, so I did measure it on Google Earth, and it's 102 by 104 feet approximately. And I also measured Raging Cajun just to see like
Just
if like a wild
maybe.
house in a box, yeah. And it's just like it's like 160 something feet by about 60 feet. So it's just not quite long enough for a wild mouse, which kind of like, I mean, that pretty much takes it off the table, I think, for a roller coaster, because I just don't see them putting like an SBF Visa into like Kings Island or something like that.
No,
So
it'd be dumb. And the other thing too is that I guess you could extend the building, but then the question becomes why. You
yeah,
have so much space around in Rivertown, behind the building, right next to the building, with with the old Vortex plot. So like you have a lot of space that there's really no reason to use that and extend the building. I would say, I don't know. I'm not working at Six Flags anymore or ever. And Kings Island, I feel that Boo Blasters, I was just there last summer.
mhm.
Um, and Boo Blasters always has a line on it. It's a very popular ride, especially for families, especially to get out of the heat. That's why I really love Boo Blasters. Maybe not for the dark ride itself, but the whole queue line was inside, air conditioned. It was a way to escape the weather, whatever the weather may be. Ride a cool little dark ride. Both my kids rode it. They both liked it. They both enjoyed it. I think Lexi was a little bit more scared than Robert was. Robert was a little scared by it too. But it was a solid dark ride. Now, granted, a lot of those dark rides, they're not modern, so they're hard to shoot the guns, especially with kids nowadays who are used to that instant reaction of when I shoot a gun or shoot whatever, laser, ghost getter or whatever you're going to call it, turkey caller. Whenever you shoot it, like just having the laser beam on it doesn't give you that instant reaction. So maybe the kids don't like it as much anymore because you don't get that feedback immediately that they so crave every single day.
Yeah.
And as a teacher how much kids crave feedback. So what else could this be if it's not a coaster?
I mean, it's a building from a dark ride. It kind of makes sense. We've got like other examples of indoor dark rides, like Worlds of Fun has Cyclone Sam's, Six Flags New England has Cyborg, Knoebels has Cosmotron. I feel like there's like a boardwalk park in California that has like you know something like that in a box as well. And this is Kings Island's actually a park that does not have a lot of spin and bark rides. They've got Troika, they've got a Frisbee, they've got Surf Dog, and they've got Monster, which looked like it was being taken apart the last time I was there.
They keep
So
saying that they're going to rebuild it and they're looking for parts, and the longer it goes, the less and less I think people believe them
yeah,
with that.
the fence that was around it did not look like a temporary fence. It looked like a hide me fence.
Yeah.
Um, And like that could be something that would fill a gap in their lineup, some sort of thrilling spinning ride. If you put it inside, it's even more exciting. I mean, like before we were talking about Six Flags America, they've got a scrambler they don't need anymore, and just throw a disco ball in there and you're good, right?
Well, there other parks have done that. You mentioned Cyclone Sam's at Worlds of Fun. I absolutely love that ride. I don't know if that's going to satisfy the people, especially those watching us here today. The Kings Island faithful.
More modern. You have like something better.
Yeah. Well, because there is this history, and I know we've been ignoring it, this history of a dark ride at Kings Island. They've, like, when you think of Kings Island, they've always had a string of dark rides and just rethemed dark rides over and over and over. And Boo Blasters is just the latest iteration of that. Starting with like things like Phantom Theater, that was, I think it said, am I reading this right? It was modeled on the Omni Mover at
Yeah,
Disney.
it
Um,
was one of those kind of things. Yeah, like a chain.
so really cool, abandoned theater. They had homages to it in Madame Fatales to Phantom Theater over and over. People loved it. So I could totally see them bringing back that theme. The question is, what type of ride is it going to be? Is it going to be a traditional dark ride? Because realistically, when I first started thinking about it, I'm like, well, Cedar Fair doesn't have a working relationship with a dark ride company right now. That Trio Tech built those dark rides years ago at Knott's and at Canada's Wonderland that are still in operation, but nobody really talks about them all that much. Um, Six Flags has a relationship with all the Justice League rides with Sally, and maybe it's just a new Sally dark ride with newer weaponry, or I don't know. Like I think I do feel that you were gonna have the Phantom Theater theme though, right?
I
Like,
gotta say, I was there this summer, and there was a whole bunch of people wearing Phantom Theater t-shirts. So either they started selling them again this year, or like, that's a fan base that really likes the nostalgia. They really like the past. They just redid the stunt show. I'm sorry, the stunt track to Cincinnati to kind of pay homage to the area. They changed the bat.
yeah.
they bat name back. It's they people were thrilled about antique cars at this park. Like they really like their history. Like it seems like a no-brainer that Phantom's Theater should be involved.
Now, I did not go to the park this year. I went to the park last year, but I stayed mainly in the kiddie section. I know they were doing a Phantom Theater experience, I believe in one of their sit-down theaters that wasn't a ride or anything. but they tried to bring back elements from it to give you the spooky feels. I think might have been a haunt thing. I don't really remember. I just remember hearing about it and saying to myself, "Oh, that's a really cool idea to bring it back and to maybe gauge interest. Like if there's really that much interest and people are going crazy about that, I want to say it was really hard to get into because people were crazy about it. And if the merch did well, why not try to find a way to bring that back in a larger scale and a dark ride? Like
If
we
they
also
sold, if
that
they
what?
sold, if they sold Son of Beast mac and cheese, that would be the longest line in the park. I guarantee it.
Kings Island does love their old ride names. Like there's no question about it. Like it's the mecca of taking old ride names. Even Banshee to some extent, if you're an Ohio fan, I guess, fits that bill. So I would love to see a dark ride. I would love to see, I've been saying this on end. I would love to see a modern day dark ride in any of the old classic Cedar Fair parks. And even if they tried to replicate, I really like Justice League. I thought Justice League was really, really well done. And where Justice League has kind of fallen apart is literally it falling apart. If you don't take care of the screens, if you don't take care of, like, I remember at Great America the one time, like, the one screen was completely black because there's so much dust on it. Like, you just need to maintain what you have. And I feel like these things work a lot better. Like the Justice League rides, I thought were fantastic for the budget that they had and for the space that they were using. I just thought it was a great use of everything, the theme and everything on top of it. For this, personally, I don't know if you need a shooting thing. Like I know they want that interaction on everything now because, like I said, kids want that constant feedback. So they want interactive things. But I really hope they try and stay. If it is a dark ride, I hope they try and number one stay away from superfluous screens. I know you're going to have screens somewhere probably, especially if you have any type of shooting aspect. But I think where Wonder Mountain's Guardian and Voyage to the Iron Reef fell apart was the overuse of screens and it only being screens and not having a lot in between. And it just didn't feel, especially when the screens go, then the whole thing falls apart. So I don't like that. So if you're gonna do a dark ride, I kind of like the Justice League model where you have a lot of physical props mixed in with the screens that are necessary for what you're trying to do. But I'm also going to throw this out, Jeff. Okay. I heard this ride a number of, when they announced it maybe last year, and I thought it was very, very intriguing. And then Danny Miller went on his multi-week European excursion and went to a park called Effling. And there they have a ride called the Dance Macabre. And it's an Intamin ride. So once again, put that out there. But they're working with Six Flags is working with Intamin at New England, so that's not out of the realm of possibility. And basically, the best way to describe this dark ride, and now Effling put in a ton of money to this, but Effling puts in a ton of money to all the things that they do. So that's not shocking. So it costs them 35 million euros to build, which is a shit ton of money. But I don't think you nearly have to put that much money into it. But if you go and look it up, it's kind of like an old Trabant or like the Schwachenbinchen from Cedar Point, where it's a table and that table wobbles. And what degree did you say that it wobbles at?
It
10
can go
degrees?
24 degrees. That's pretty.
24 degrees. So like you're getting a lot of wobble, but then on that table there's individual ride cars, and believe those spin as well.
Yeah,
So
and it looks like almost like a teacup, like where they could be on a turntable as well. So the whole thing,
yes. So you
and
have multiple axes of spinning. But the cool part about this is it starts off and it tells you a story. And this also uses a music theme too, which is what immediately brought me to this. Is this uses a music dance theme of classical nature. So it starts off and there's scenes around you and things start moving and then you start moving. And then as it wobbles, there's scenes underneath you as well, underneath that table. So as you wobble, you're introduced to new things that happen, and there's new things to look at. And Danny Miller, who is sometimes easily impressed, I'm not going to say he's not easily impressed by things, but he said, quote unquote, that this is one of the best ride experiences he's ever had. And not knowing anything about it going in, he had no idea what it was. He just said, let's go try this out. went in and said it blew him completely away, was amazing, was beyond every single expectation he could ever have. And he said he would ride it again and again and again. He said the ride was good from a forces standpoint. He said the theming was amazing. He said the things that you were introduced to as you were moving up and down and wobbling and forcing yourself to be seen. He said the whole experience was absolutely amazing. Now, if they did something like that, I think that would be outstanding for the park, would be unique for America, because you cannot get anything like that anywhere else. And I think it also fills the bill that you were trying to talk about at the opening of this show with maybe putting an Enterprise or a Trabant or a Wipeout. But this is that modern version where you're still going to get those same sort of forces, but you're going to get it in a much more maybe controllable way and a much more themed way too, I think. What do you think?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it looks like a cool thing. I was looking at the fact sheet after you pointed that out. They do say that they can move pretty quickly. They can fall at 3 meters per second. So it's something that has a little verticality to it too. And with a
Mhm.
tall building, you could maybe use the whole thing, which is exciting.
And you were telling me earlier too when you were looking at it that it's highly customizable too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like
So the cars themselves, where the small like you sit in groups. The one that they showed for Effling had 6 groups, but it says that it's customizable, so it could be smaller or larger. And also, like some of them were like 3 rows of seats, all facing forward. Some of them were round, so everybody faces out or everybody faces in. So like you could do it without screens, and have
yeah,
everybody looking in with just like you know
maybe the Oregon guy right in the middle or
yeah,
something like that.
maybe he's right in the center of the table, like the
Like
maestro.
and he's like organizing the whole thing and everything you do is based on what he does. So I just given you exactly what they should do.
Yeah,
Now what they actually do, I have no idea. It's probably a wipeout in a box, but but I've just given you exactly if I was running the park, that's exactly what I would put in because it fits the theme, it fits your area, it fits with what your park needs. I think another flat ride, and because you and the only thing I don't know is what the height limit on it is. That's the only thing, and I'm gonna go look it up real quick so you can talk about anything you want
in
here.
meters, yeah. Um, so if they did do this, I'm pretty solid on the Phantoms Theater theme with the organ player and the opera singer, and I think that you got a lot of characters that you can play with there. Um, but it needs like a subheading, right? Because it can't be like Phantoms Theater.
Yeah, it has to have a subheading. It does.
So I guess how long do we have to wait now? To wait 7 days, so just another week, and we'll find out for sure. What do you see
So
from?
So the one drawback is Effling is saying that it is a 47-inch height requirement. Now, I don't know. I'm looking if that means
I don't know. My
um,
daughter was clearing uh, that by 5, and if it's a little spooky, like I mean, you could get a second or a third grader on that.
so if you put a 48 because you're not going to do a 47.22, they do 1.2 meters. So I had to translate that because
Mhm.
we work on a different system here in America, thank God.
We
So
wouldn't have to do any math if we didn't, though.
well, I don't know. Um, so that is the one drawback of that ride is I think you're moving from Boo Blasters that had basically no height requirement to a ride that has a 48-inch height requirement. So that's a big jump up. And but you're moving it out of the section of the park too. That's the kids section. That where the crypt is not really considered the kids section. That's where your high thrill rides are. You're right next to the Beast. You're right next to the raft ride. So like you're right next to Mystic Timbers. So you're in the middle of the actual park. So it's not like you're taking out a kids ride and then putting in an adult ride in the kids section. So you're putting in an adult ride in the adult section. So you're just adding another throw ride, which I think they do need. I've always said Kings Island lacked flat rides in general. You went through the whole, they have The Shake, Rattle, and Roll, which is a troika. They have the Monster that you said that's closed. They have Delirium, the Frisbee, which
Those
is
are also
closed a
close.
lot,
And Surf Dog.
and Surf Dog. Those are the spinny ones. They still have Windseeker. They still have the Drop Tower, right? Drop Zone.
Yeah, they did have Drop Zone. Yeah.
So they have that, but they don't have a ton of flat rides running around the park anymore. So adding another high thrill flat ride that's also highly themed and also in air conditioning, hopefully, I think is a win for the park. I would love to see this. Like if they open that right up and it's even moderately well done, that might draw me. That's probably going to draw me to the park next year. I'm going to be honest, right? So
It looks cool. I mean, if it's
because what else could you possibly do there? Like I just don't know.
I think the boring answer is just any old flat ride that you're already used to with a disco ball and some flashing lights.
Yeah,
But this interactive theater ride, this motion theater, that's really different. That's definitely a cool experience that I mean, they don't have any of these in the US as far as I know.
no, no.
Vegas or something? I don't know. I don't,
And I think the Efteling one was the first one. And on top of that, even if you did a standard dark ride, I still think that's a win for the chain because Cedar Point needs a dark ride. I don't care what anybody says. Cedar Point needs a dark ride,
keep
and we
saying.
keep talking about that over and over and over. Cedar Point needs a dark ride, and I will keep saying it until they finally install one. Kings Island had a dark ride. I still think Kings Island needs a dark ride of some sort.
Well,
Um,
that Bootmasters building is really cool. Like I can't see them leveling that building, so you could
it's a
see a
really cool,
retheme and
and
it
plus
comes
that
up,
building has so much history to it too. Like that
or
building has
that'll be the new Haunt building. Who knows? But
well,
give them a
they
couple of years and they'll maybe fill it.
I feel like they did they used to do the kids haunts or the Snoopy meetup in the building behind because that building goes a lot further. So like behind Great Pumpkin Coaster, like there's the extended building. If you know Kings Island, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
they've done Snoopy stuff in there, like Snoopy meet and greets, and that is a huge area. Um, so hopefully whatever they have planned there is big, is very, very big. So we will see what is happening, right? Any final thoughts here?
I like your idea. I'm crossing my fingers that you're
I'm
right.
I told you what it should be. Now we'll find out what it is. So as always, hopefully we get another clue here, maybe giving us some more information on what this is going to be. And we will keep you updated here, as we always do on CoasterNet Updates. As always, I am Andrew Barchak from Chicago, Illinois.
I'm Jeff Goodman from Long Island, New York.
Right on, Ride Warriors.
Good night.